welcome. So, welcome. I'm not sure who's here. I'm not sure who received the notification, but it was sent out. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a really important message for the collective, for souls who are ready to listen, for souls who are ready to awaken. So, I'm Cancer, the Untamed Oracle, in case that you don't know me. I'm someone who experienced two near-death experiences, really more than that, but I have come face to face with the Grim Reaper, with death. I have traveled through the dimensions that we call hell. I have also traveled through the dimensions that we call heaven. And these are states of consciousness. These are states of mind. This message will not resonate with everybody, only the souls who are ready to hear this message. So the first thing that I wanted to get into was the importance of you all knowing that it's time for you to change what has been happening in your life. It's time for you to change what your family may have passed down to you in the form of trauma. We cannot sit on the fence anymore. The souls who are here to do the alchemy, the souls who are here to take whatever has been given to them and make something out of it, make something beneficial. It's no more time for us to sit on the fence. So many things that are happening in the world right now. There are so many wars that are going on in the world right now. And this is a reflection of the internal conflict that is inside of each and every one of us. The simulated matrix is constructed by consciousness. So you may not believe or know how powerful your thoughts and words are. The things that you think about, the things that you allow yourself to think about, the things that you ruminate about. How many people here recently can resonate with the fact that maybe you had something trigger you and you kind of had a hard time shaking it? Maybe you had a difficult time shaking it off. Maybe you had a difficult time feeling less guilty about being angry. What happens to you when you're triggered is that the ego starts to use its coping mechanisms to protect you. As long as you are in survival mode, if you are defensive, if you are emotionally reactive, you can't hear your soul speak. You're not listening to your soul speak. Our soul speaks to us in very subtle ways. Our soul cannot speak to us if we're in internal conflict with ourselves. It is time for us to start setting aside how we respond when we're triggered if it's no longer useful for us. The world is not going to change until we do. We were placed here to be the ones to change the world. How do you know your soul is here to go through a spiritual awakening, ascension process in this lifetime? You know because you're not comfortable where you are. You're not comfortable with how you respond. You're not comfortable with how you feel. You're no longer comfortable with the things that you have settled for. There are things that you know you have outgrown, but maybe you have had a hard time letting those things go. This is your soul speaking to you. This is your soul calling out to you. Maybe you're no longer comfortable with the way people perceive you, but you don't want to try to fix it anymore. So you're stuck in between this place of a fear of being judged because there is a root fear of abandonment and that wound has not yet been healed. See, the soul is like the oversoul. This is all of who you are. We're only experiencing fragments of who we are. So what happens is the way that we perceive in which other people are perceiving us is actually the way that we are perceiving ourselves on the inside, but it's hidden in the shadows. So you don't know it's there. You don't know that you're really not afraid of what people think about you. You're afraid of what would happen if people did not approve of your beliefs or your values or the things that you do, whether behind closed doors or not. And so we have been forced to acquiesce. We have been forced to assimilate. Cloning is not just a physical technology. There has been a cloning of consciousness where we feel like we have to be like everybody else. When you start to be more comfortable with who you are, you will find yourself standing on your truth, maybe still feeling fear, but not afraid to stand on your truth. This is how you know your soul is calling you to ascend beyond whatever construct you have been stuck in. What is happening right now on the planet is that those who are here to be leaders, to be healers, to be cycle breakers, our lives right now is like a blend of heaven and hell. So there are some aspects of you in your life that maybe you feel really good about. Maybe you're proud of yourself. But there are other aspects of your life where you feel inferior to the space you're actually being called to step into. You don't feel ready. You don't feel like you have the tools. You don't feel like you're going to be able to handle the uncertainty of stepping out of what has been familiar for you. But what has been familiar for us is low vibrational. We're not meant to remain in the low vibrations. We're not meant to remain in toxic dynamics. And this is what I don't hear that many people speaking about this. I see a lot of people within the spiritual communities speaking about these powers, these spiritual abilities, the cities, depending on what spiritual system you study, the Ashe, right? They're talking about these powers that are coming online for us, but nobody is really talking about the traumas that we have not yet integrated with, the wounds that we have not healed. We become dangerous to ourselves and to others when we do not have emotional self-mastery. Yet, through the solar flares, through the evolutionary stage of Betelgeuse, which is a very powerful supernova star, these astrological bodies, these celestial powers impact us. There is no separation between us and celestial powers, just as there's no separation between us and nature. There is an illusion of separation, but we're really one. We're all a part of creation. And so we're being activated, and yes, our powers are coming on. What does that mean? That means that you have the Ida and Pingala, which is the male and female part of Kundalini energy. And this is an energy of life force. This is the energy in which all of us came into existence. We were created. And by the act of sex, we were created, and this is an alchemical process. So as the solar flares are turning up and the solar storms are getting stronger and stronger, as the resonance of Mother Earth is also, the Schumann resonance is getting stronger, we are being activated. Everything is frequency, energy, and vibration. So this is affecting us on a cellular level. But when you're emotionally hurt, and you don't have the tools and the boundaries and the support in place to assist you, you become dangerous. Let me give you an example. In the past, on the what I call the old earth, this is the systems in which we operated within that are now collapsing. Okay, that's the old earth. That's the old way of doing things, the old template that humanity followed. Because of the knowledge we have access to, we're now realizing those templates are toxic. They're not healthy, and they don't support life force energy. So, as we're being activated, if you have a negative thought and you allow that negative thought to repeat over and over again, you create a thought form. This is a third energy that is created from your mind constantly thinking about it. And the mind now creates an emotion in the body. It's not supposed to happen this way. We've been doing things backwards. I'm going to get to that. But the thoughts create an emotion in the body. And when you combine emotion with thought, that's electromagnetism. So this electromagnetism is the same energy in which the celestial bodies rotate. So this is how powerful this force is with the combination of the mind and the emotions. So now that thought creates a third energy where something in your life will manifest as a result of that. So let's just say you keep having the thought that someone has something they're hiding from you. Now, you don't go and talk to them about it, but you keep thinking about it. It just keeps rotating in your mind. And then you start to feel a way about it. You start to feel maybe betrayed. Now, you haven't confirmed that anything has actually happened. This creates a third energy where you will now respond to them as if the thought that you're having is true, but you haven't checked the facts. So the electromagnetism, the force field around you, the message that you are broadcasting energetically entangles with their energy. And if they are unaware that you're dealing with this, now that creates another energy. And this is how we create reality. But that's not how we're supposed to create reality. So what happens is you don't know that your mind is creating your reality because you haven't connected the dots. This is the reason why we are becoming more dangerous than we have ever been before. This is why you see so much violence happening in the world. Maybe even in your own personal world, you have had experiences. Because we're picking up on vibrational frequencies and we don't know how to make sense of it. A lot of us are being called to step out of these mindsets, but you don't feel like you're ready. You don't feel like you can handle it. I mean, if you grew up in any trauma and you're aware of that, it's because you're called to be a cycle breaker. That's not a small thing. You are very important. But our reality, the old world, the 3D matrix, which is a simulated reality that was based on the karma that have been created collectively by humanity as a whole, The karma that we individually create by the decisions that we make, by the things that we think about, and the things that we do every day. This is what creates the energetic fields that we call reality. So within the simulated reality, meaning it's holographic, it may or may not be real, just like this thought that this person is being suspicious and lying to me about something, but it hasn't been confirmed. That's a simulated reality. And what happens is you start to feel the biofeedback of your own negative thinking, and you think that it means that you're not capable of being your best version of yourself. You think that it means you're not good enough. And guess what? That's the trick. Nobody is good enough for anything. There's no such thing as good or bad. That is duality. And duality is this black and white thinking where things are either this or that, but everything is everything. So, nature, when we have a earthquake, nature can be perceived as bad because of that. But nature also is responsible for growing the food that keeps us alive. So it can be seen as good as well. So it's neither. When you can begin to see yourself as neither, when you can begin to access neutrality, when you learn how to resolve conflict, when you learn how to create neutrality and balance in your relationships with others, it's as a result of creating neutrality with your relationship with yourself. So, do you judge yourself as good or bad? How do you feel about yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror? How do you judge what you see looking back at you? This one thing alone can help you see where your mind is and what type of energy is being created. Now, I study esoteric, gnosis, occult, metaphysical, spiritual knowledge. And I take that knowledge and I simplify it and make it practical to your day-to-day life. Because oftentimes, when you learn some of these things, you're thinking to yourself, how is this going to help me? How does this relate to what I deal with in my day-to-day life? And this is where I come in. This is one of the things that I have been called to do. So I want you to pay attention to this. Your body always keeps a scorecard of experiences. Your mind is responsible for compartmentalizing those experiences. So if there's something that you went through that caused some form of brokenness within you, your mind is going to put that in a box in the attic and shove it away. And you put stuff in the attic or the basement after years, you forget it's there. But its energy is still resonating in your home because that item is still there. This is what the shadows is. This is why shadow work is a necessity for anybody who wants to change their life and maybe even be a world changer. So what's happening is we have these things that have been compartmentalized, these shadows. The whole conversation about demons, that conversation is really about painful experiences that created an energetic imprint. So when we hear people say things and this is really common, and it's like that was really demonic, right? It's like that is really evil what this person did. But this is created from pain. Anything perceived as evil is something that was created by pain. Hurt people hurt people. So when you have the capacity to create energetic frequencies, to create thought forms, and you don't know it, when your cellular DNA is being activated to be more sensitive to energy, and I'm sure some of y'all have been experiencing this. Maybe you're more sensitive to energy than you used to be. And this can show up in just being sensitive to someone's words or someone's tone or the way they looked at you. This level of sensitivity is first established usually in our soul contract because it's what we come here to experience when you are called to be an alchemist, which again is someone who takes whatever is handed to them and makes something beautiful out of it, which is what they used by saying the phrase base metal into gold. I mean, to be able to turn lead from your pencil into gold, that's a pretty amazing alchemical thing that you have done. Well, what base metal in your life is meant to turn to gold, or are you allowing it to just sit there and turn to what we would call low vibrational energy, what some people call demonic energy or toxicity? So when you don't address it, it's going to show up outside of you. Not to destroy you, but your soul is trying to get you to listen and pay attention. Now let me go back to the body, because the body is the third temple. Now I know that there is an existence of a third temple outside of us in the physical form that has been talked about a lot, but as within, so without. Your body is your home. It is your temple. What do you have stored in your body? What's haunting you? What experiences did your body remember? Maybe you forgot, but your body didn't. What happens when you get upset? Do you start to breathe shallow breaths from your chest? Does your shoulders get tight? Are you having neck tightness? Are you having low back pain? Are your feet aching? All of these things are signs from your body. It's a communication to you that there's energy here that needs to be tended to. Now, over time, we have learned to ignore what's happening in our body because we've been caught up in this illusion. So you feel like you have to keep going no matter what. There is this permeating, invisible frequency that causes us to feel like if we don't do blank, we won't survive. Has anybody ever had that thought? Like, if I don't do this, I won't survive. If I miss a day of work, I'm not going to have any food. If I don't do this, this is going to happen. And so when the mind is thinking that way, and the body, it has been taking the shock from the experiences that hurt you. But we're so used to pushing through it. We have overused our ego. The ego is the part of you that's responsible for helping you to push through. It's a beautiful thing. The ego is not evil. It was a necessary part of the construction of who you are. So the ego is exhausted. And this is why so many of us, so many people are giving up on relationships, because our relationships were created by egoic energy. Maybe in percentages, maybe some of your heart did create some of your relationships, but a lot of it was egoic energy and trauma bonding, where we were attracted to each other's wounds. And there's a resonance. This is why the conversation about narcissism and codependency, it's like if you are in the realm of self-mastery, you have already probably delved into this information. But everybody not doing that work. So you have to address what's happening inside of my home What's happening inside of my temple? What am I ignoring? Because when you don't take the time to take care of your temple, there are other energies who will take advantage of those wounds that have not been addressed. Now, if you are actually taking the time to try to take better care of yourself, that's a spiritual activation within itself. I want y'all to really hear me. Ashe Money. That is spiritual activation within itself. The way you treat your temple, just think about it. The way you treat your temple is going to be the determining factor for what comes into your life. It's not a mystery anymore. I just answered it for you. It's not a mystery. If you ignore your temple, you don't take the time, you don't even try. I understand that some of us have very complicated lives right now because we're the generation that's standing in the gap of the old way, the old earth, and we're looking forward to the new way. And you can call this 3D versus 5D consciousness. Some people call this the old earth and the new earth, the 3D matrix. So we're able to be the generation that's standing in that gap. We're not quite in the other space yet. We're not quite in the higher dimensional consciousness, what we call the fifth dimension, which is a dimension that's based on love and not fear. The 3D world is based on fear. A lot of us get up and go to work just out of fear of not having. A lot of us create relationships out of the fear of being alone. So a lot of decisions have been made from the frequency of fear, and this is what allows so much conflict and war and division to manifest in the world. Now, I wanted to do this impromptu live today because, first of all, this season right now within the Hindu pantheon. This season is called Diwali, so it's like their new year. And within this energy, this is like a rebirth. This is a new beginning. Yesterday we had the new moon. We're in Scorpio season. So this energy is also ending things that are no longer serving us and bringing things to our attention. And we're feeling a desire to create something new, to experience something different. And that could just show up in just being tired of certain things in your life and the way they are, or being tired of certain ways that you criticize yourself. So personal development, which is using psychology, using shadow work, learning things about Carl Jung, those things help you to make adjustments to function in a higher frequency. But the spiritual component begins with how you take care of your temple. Physical hygiene was the first level of this. Spiritual hygiene is the next level. So what do you do every day with your spiritual hygiene? How are you taking care of the spiritual aspect of yourself? Are you loving yourself? Are you investing in yourself? Are you using boundaries? Not just with others. Boundaries is for you. It's not for other people. For those of us who are new to these things and learning these things, sometimes we can feel like boundaries are for other people, to protect us from other people. But oftentimes we need boundaries to protect us from ourselves. Because we are hard on ourselves. We can be very critical of ourselves. And this energy is going to be really, really strong right now. We're heading into winter. This is a time of death. This is a time where even nature goes through its rebirth process. So what are you doing? How are you taking care of yourself spiritually? We went over the physical component. We went over the mental component. How are you taking care of yourself spiritually? It's really important that you have routines. because it is your routines that create your reality. What you do every day is what creates what you experience. So, what are your routines? Are you sticking to them? Hey, sis. Like, are you dedicated to yourself? Are you dedicated to your growth? How dedicated are you? Or do you have people in your life who may not like you stepping into this other version of yourself and you allow it to hold you back? I understand that. I can relate to that. The fear of how people are going to perceive you, especially people that you care about. Not really strangers so much, maybe, but more so the people that you care about. Because for so many of us, we didn't get a chance to develop healthy attachments as children. We had soul contracts to come here through families who had all types of traumas that had not been addressed. This was your soul contract. This wasn't a mystery. See, when you do a certain level of healing work, you realize it wasn't personal. It wasn't personal. They didn't come here, to hurt me, just to hurt me. It wasn't personal. I went through these things because I learned something from it, and I developed who I am today because of what I went through. So it's not personal. And much of the spiritual work is realizing that it wasn't personal. I'm going to tell you something crazy. If you can shift your mind into it's never personal, not only will you not get triggered as much, but you will not be a nuclear reactor when you are triggered. You will become a creator of your reality when you get triggered. See, when I get triggered, I go into my spiritual bag. I channel that energy into my spiritual self. So I'm feeding my regeneration process so that when these things happen, it doesn't tear me down. It doesn't knock down my confidence. This is what shadow work offers. So if you can shift into that, you will find that you feel more confident about yourself, and the universe will send opportunities to you because you feel confident to step into a new space. So many of us want change and we want something new, but we're not willing to do what we need to do to get the new. I have so many guides speaking to me right now. I assume that this video is going to be one of those videos that people are going to come back to because this is soul talk. This is soul conversation. So I'm listening for what's important for me to share right now. So a lot of us here, we're not taking care of our spiritual selves like we really need to. So I'm going to give you some simple tips that don't take a long time where you could start taking better care of your spiritual self. All right. So if you are interacting with someone and it seems like it's going in a direction you don't want to go in, okay? And you don't want to be rude, but maybe you want to end the conversation because you're getting a premonition on where it's going to lead. And maybe the person you're talking to has no idea that shit is about to go south in this conversation. But you pick up on it. This is some of those things that seem so small, but they are really so important that I have experienced. And so in that moment, knowing what to say is going to be a determining factor from what third energy you create. This is what I mean by learning to be a deliberate creator, right? So you don't have to try to control other people and what they're doing to feel safe. You learn how to work with whatever energy is showing up. This is what an alchemist does. In this conversation, you're picking up on this. Maybe you didn't know you got premonitions in the middle of conversations, and I just made that clear to you now. Take note of that. You can simply say, give me a moment, and we will revisit this conversation because it seemed like it's something that's important to you. And I want to be able to really hear what you're saying. Give me a moment, and I'm going to get back to you. Most people aren't going to say, no, not going to give you a moment to get back to me, because you made it clear that you want to hear them out. You see, sometimes we get blinded by the wounds that are motivating other people outside of ourselves because we're stuck in survival mode. So we're hyper fixated on how we're feeling as a result of energy outside of us. So your attention is always on what's outside, what's a threat, what's an attack. I got to keep myself safe. Right? So sometimes we're not even picking up on what the other person is going through. And yeah, they could be angry, and they could be speaking to you in a way where it's just something that you don't want to deal with, but maybe they're hurting. Maybe they got some stuff going on. And all of us have people in our lives who may be less mindful than we are. So to be able to tell them, I want to hear you because what you're saying seems to be important to you. Give me a moment so that I can step in that space with you at a later time. Most people aren't going to say no to that because they want to be heard. They want to be understood. You see? Now, in the course, I give you a lot of prompts like that on what you can say and do in conversations to resolve conflict and create neutrality. So if this is something you struggle with, or if this is something you want to improve on, you want to become a master of conversation and communication, that's in the Turn Pain into Purpose course. Okay? So in that moment, you just shifted the energy from what could have been negative to something positive. And you might still be feeling triggered and feeling away by how they were speaking to you, but you use your higher mind. You use the energy centers of what we call the higher chakras to access information that is from a higher dimension of consciousness. You literally, in that moment, ascended above and beyond a lower dimensional experience that could have shifted your entire day to be negative. And if you would have went into your day with that negative energy from that conversation that maybe you did not know how to transmute into something else, then there are synchronicities and opportunities and certain phone calls and conversations and places you were going to go that day that aren't going to happen because you're not a vibrational match for those things that happen. You are now a vibrational match to a negative energy that was presented to you through someone else's pain. And this is the spiritual aspect of codependency. Codependency means that we rely upon external people, places, and things to create the feeling within us. So if someone is behaving in a way and it just don't feel like they're a safe person to be around, we internalize that. And our mood get affected by it. That's what the codependency means. The spiritual aspect of that is that you're constantly being bombarded by external energies. And this is why a lot of us feel like we can't create our reality the way we want to. We feel like we're out of control and we don't know how to fix it. So I hope that this message is landing, because this is my soul speaking to your soul through all the noise of the ego. All right? So that's one thing that you could do that will help your spiritual hygiene. All right? The second thing, I'm going to give you two things, because I'm really in a giving mood today. I'm going to give you two things, because I know these things you probably never heard of before. This information comes from the Akashic Records, so oftentimes this information is new to me too, and I'm accessing this now. And I'm giving you what is coming up that's going to be the most important and most useful and helpful for where you are now. And I know that a lot of manifestation of internal energy that has not been processed within us is showing up in our communication. And this is between you and your own thoughts and you and other people. All right. Now, the second thing that I find to be one of the most important things is this. One of the most important things is to be creating sacred space for yourself at the top of your day. The time where it was okay for us to wake up, jump out of bed, and go through the day has passed. If you are going through your day this way, you're going to attract things that reflect your past, because that's old stagnant energy. You're not resetting the energy at the top of the day. So you want to make sure that you reset the energy. You want to make sure that at the top of your day, do you have an altar? Are you going to your altar? Do you speak to your ancestors? Like spiritually, what are you connecting with at the top of your day before you go out into the world that is being destroyed? You have to have a system. You need a framework to support the new you that you are designed to create. So part of my routine, and I give you a routine in the Turn Pain into Purpose course as well, but part of my routine at the top of the day, you can come in, is doing yoga, making sure that I'm tending to my body, and it's really trippy because you can have a really, really strong cathartic experience by just tuning into your body, just like a tuning fork. I got one here. Look at this. This is the physical body. All right. Our routines, what we do, how we think, whether or not we meditate, we're always meditating. If you're ruminating on something that occurred, you're meditating. And you're going to create from which you give your attention to. So this is your body. This is everything else that is affecting you. When you tune your body through, whether it's yoga, stretching, qigong, whatever resonates with you, if you don't have anything, if you're not tuning your body, you're giving off disharmonic resonances through the body. So it's like hitting a chord and it just don't sound right. You can't hear it, but your body is transmitting that frequency because it has not been tended to. Now, when you actually tend to your body, this particular tuning fork is set to 528 hertz. This hertz is the frequency of love. So when you give your body that love, you're now resonating love. So it's not all about your actions and what you do now, because you can rely on your body to emit a frequency of love just because you stop to tend to your body, even if you only have 5 minutes. Time is being used to quicken us, to get us to grow up. We're spiritually growing up through emotionally growing up. So we don't feel like we got enough time in the day to do everything. Is anybody else here feeling like that? And maybe because of that, you want to stop and do certain things that you feel you should do, but you don't, because you don't feel like you got enough time to do it. Then there is a way to help you to bend time. Like, we're bending time right now. I'm pretty sure those of you who are here and your soul is really tuned in, you have no sense of time. Hopefully ain't nobody cooking nothing, because you will completely forget that you was doing something else. This is what it feels like when you're bending time, when you're bending angles of light. You're connecting with the higher consciousness. Light is data, it's information that moves at a very high speed. So light is moving faster than time when you're accessing soul frequencies. This is the difference. So as you tune your body, now just like this tuning fork, you're resonating. Even when you're not speaking, you're resonating. You're vibrating love. This will protect you. This is like one of the most important things with spiritual hygiene, but so many of us, I think, overlook it. And I think a lot of us don't stick to our routines. We'll start stuff and won't finish it. That's the worst thing that you could do right now. Keep up with whatever it is that you feel you should be doing as best as you can. And I don't say should, but that you feel will benefit you. Try to be dedicated to it, because when you dedicate yourself to things that benefit you, you invest in inner love into yourself. You won't connect with people who are too wounded to be able to interact with you in a healthy way. They're not going to want to connect with you. Sometimes people in your life will even stop calling you and speaking to you because your resonance is different, your vibration is different. Everything doesn't have to be a conversation. Non-verbal communication. If you could see the energy waves coming off of you, right? There are waves. Somatics is the study of the way sound waves create shapes, whether it's water or sand or salt, and it creates a shape. And it's really amazing to see that sound creates a form, because thoughts is an inner sound, and that inner sound creates a form. We must master our thoughts. So many of us aren't protected because our thoughts are our masters. And your thoughts are created by whatever negative experience have been compartmentalized. It's a mesh of things that you heard when you were a child and it really hurt you. Maybe somebody said to you, you stupid, and you took that to heart and it hurted you. That didn't go away because you got older. It created coping mechanisms, and those coping mechanisms created the frequency that you operated in. And that frequency is what attracted certain people, places, and things to you. You're pulling it in. You're pulling it in. You're pulling it in. And if you know how to interact with it, you don't have to be so afraid of what's coming into your reality. You don't have to be so afraid of conflict. So many of us are afraid of conflict. We were sensitive souls who maybe grew up in homes and experienced conflict, and it felt really bad to us. Your body keeps the score. Your body remembers. Every member of your body remembers. And that repeats. And this is the way we create our reality. That was really good. That was really good. But turn pain into purpose course is so important, because if you're not protected and you attract the things that you don't know how to handle, you're more than likely going to attract people into your life who have low emotional intelligence. And this is just a result of the negligence, the things that we didn't get. And this is nothing against the people that raised us, because there was forms of love that they didn't get. There was forms of support that they did not get. Nobody really sat us down and said, hey, I want you to be a very confident adult, and this is what you must do to be confident. Nobody really built our confidence up to be able to handle emotional things. We have been living through a period of time. It's like the emotional dark ages, and so we're coming out of that. So low emotional intelligence, not really knowing how to interact with energy, that's really what it means. But if you're getting an increase of energy, this makes you dangerous. You're not a safe person, and maybe we know that. And that's beautiful. If you know that when you're triggered, you're not a safe person, you're being offered power just by knowing that. Because now you can fix the hole in the wall because you know where the hole is. So this is why emotional intelligence is so important. The first thing after you take a test to see how much stress may be affecting your life in a hidden way, if you go to the website for the Turn Pain into Purpose course, after you take that test to see where stress is affecting you, I also give you a free ebook that I wrote on harnessing the power of your sixth sense. This is mastering your intuition. Some would say through the third eye, but it's a combination of the third eye, the heart, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus. It's a combination of all the chakras, actually. Intuition is fueled by all the chakras within the body. And if chakras is new for you, you can learn more about that on the website as well. I even have the Chakra Camp online course. You can camp out for me for 10 days on the course, and I walk you through your chakras each day, the ones that we need to establish ourselves on earth and feel safe. There's many different ways that you can approach this, and so that's an energetic approach that you can approach this new self, this new reality that you're ready to generate. But after you take that test and you see, okay, how is stress affecting me today? Because you can now figure out why you sabotage things. You will now start to understand why you aren't healing, why maybe you've been working on something and it don't seem like you're getting any improvement. You will feel less personally attacked by other people because you will see that they are impacted by stress. A stressed out spiritual cycle breaker is a dangerous situation because you're working with a lot of power. You got access to spiritual deities and energies that you maybe even haven't had a conversation with yet because you haven't been in the frequency to have communication with the spiritual unseen realm. That's a whole other conversation for a later video. But if this is the case, then you are missing out on so many opportunities to step into a higher timeline. This is where quantum jumping, quantum mechanics come in, where through one communication, one reaction, it changes all of the chain reactions that happen as a result of that one reaction. This is learning how to master our emotional self. So for me, I'm hypersensitive, and many forms of trauma made this more so the case. I'm hypervigilant, so I'm able to pick up on everybody else's energy at all times, because this is what my ego practiced to keep me safe. I need to know, is daddy safe to talk to right now? You know, I don't want to get yelled at. I don't want to go through that. I need to know he's safe. And so we learn how to read energy as children so that we wouldn't make things worse, or it's hoping that we can make things better because we were trying to feel safe. Every child wants to feel safe. Every human being wants to feel safe. So we practice being tethered to energy. This is the hypervigilance. So then you want to try to fix it. And this is when the people-pleasing personality that's created by trauma comes in. And so now I'm trying to fix it. Mama crying, I want to fix it. Daddy upset, I want to fix it. You know, my brother is mad at me, I want to fix it. And then you start to get a personality that is like you want to be a savior to other people. You want to fix things. You want to make things better. But you don't realize the reason you want to make it better is because you want to feel safe. You want to feel better. So now you feel like the only way to feel better is to fix people outside of me. And then you grow up into an adult who's constantly trying to fix people. And you're not taking the time to see that you're bleeding out all over everybody because you're wounded and you're hurting. You have been shot. You have been riddled with bullets. You have been stabbed throughout your life. Your heart has been stabbed. People have stabbed you in the back. Listen to the words. The words communicate the truth of the energetic frequency that's attached to these experiences. Listen to the words. So you're going through life and you're literally bleeding. You're leaking your life force energy. This is why so many of us have chronic fatigue. This is why we can sleep for 8 hours and still wake up tired. This is why energy drinks became a thing. 20 years ago, I had never heard of an energy drink. Now they're everywhere I go. Why? Because people need an external source of energy because they're not able to generate it within themselves by being connected to their life force, which is empowered by your soul. And so this disconnect from the soul leads to a lack of energy. That's so important for you to listen to that. We, as children, receive trauma just through going to school. So if you didn't sleep, if you got sick, and if your parents had to go to work, they ain't had no babysitter, you had to go to school. That's traumatic for a little kid. You know, you're learning how to be an adult as a kid. You're learning how to push through as a kid. We were getting traumatized just by being sent to learn something. Do you see the heaven and hell? The what what feels really bad, what wounded us, but then what helped shape us into who we are. So I want you to release duality in this channel message before I leave. To start releasing duality so that you can live in neutrality. It is in that neutral space. When the scales of Libra are balanced, it is in that neutral space where your spirit can speak to you, your ancestors can speak to you, your soul can tell you what you need. Some of us may be dealing with things within our lives, and it's just a mirror to what's happening inside ourselves. You gotta know what it feels like when you disconnected from your soul. You gotta know. And you gotta know what to do when that happens. Because everything, just like these energy drinks, everything around you is asking for your attention. This is the 3D matrix trying to hold on. It needs people. It needs energy, life force. It needs pain and suffering. This is why I created this course, Turn Pain into Purpose, so we can stop feeding the systems that are destroying our divine selves from creating a new reality, which is what we call the new earth. The funny thing is, I am not only hypersensitive, and so if I'm speaking to you and you're feeling resonance, it's likely that you have some of these things, but these are the things you must know about yourself to change your life. These are the basic building blocks. Without this, anything that you try to do is not going to bring forth fruits because you don't have the foundation in place. I'm giving y'all a lot right now. So I hope that you take this and use this. And for those of you who are really serious about untaming your soul so that you can connect with your soul, get that course. I'm barely scraping the surface right now. And I did it in a way where you wouldn't have to spend hours and hours and hours a day that you probably don't have for this. I want people to be able to tap in and go out and affect reality differently. It's time for us to create our world. We're taking our power back. And it sounds so empowering and exciting, but it requires these details, the adaptations that you make. It is a requirement. So in order for you to actually change, you got to know this about yourself. Are you also hypersensitive? Is this what's happening with you? Are you picking up on not just energy from people, but are you picking up on energy from items, from things? They transmit energy too. I can drive through a neighborhood where it's a lot of violence happen and literally feel like I'm walking through concrete. The more you tune into your energetic body, your subtle bodies, you're able to feel how energy affects you. It used to affect me, I just didn't know. So codependency means you are tethered and emotionally controlled by things that are happening outside of you. I have not heard anybody speak on the spiritual implications of codependency, of being hypersensitive. This I'm giving y'all the roots of what's going to bring you true transformation. So if that's the case, you need a way to cleanse yourself, and you must use it. You must use it like your life depends on it. Because if you're picking up on energy and you're not really being aware and dealing with it, okay, so now you're a vibrational match for things outside of you. And this has happened. The digital world is where a lot of the thought forms go to play. So things that start trying to get your attention through your digital devices, that's going to keep you in a certain mindset, that's going to keep you in a certain emotion. So let's say you was around your sister-in-law and your brother, and maybe they had a disagreement about something. Maybe you felt a way about it. You didn't say anything. You didn't deal with it, but you felt a way about it. You haven't addressed it. You haven't addressed it within your body. You haven't addressed it within your mind. It's just kind of there. It's just kind of circulating. You're thinking about it. You're feeling it in your body, right? And now that frequency inside of you is going to attract things outside of you that's a vibrational match to conflict. So you will pick up your digital device and you will just keep seeing terrible, terrible, terrible things. So terrible where you like, how did I even end up here? Like, this is the saddest shit that I have ever seen before. Your soul is speaking to you through the universe, saying, look, this is hidden inside of you. There's a sadness hidden inside of you. It's blocking your abundance. This is why some of us are having a difficult time with abundance in any area. It could be health, it could be wealth, whatever. Because we've been disconnected from the soul. And if you're codependent, your mood is constantly shifting based on the energy outside of you. And so to have these digital devices at all times means that your energy can be manipulated by any entity at any time. We must take our power back. Why do you think the information that is readily available to us is called a feed? Sheeple have to be fed, right? But we're meant to be choosy about what comes in here. When you get choosy about what comes in here, when you start to use boundaries about what comes in here, when you start to ignore the things that are distractions and you can tune into things that really connect and speak to your soul, when you start to get in that frequency, you become a high vibrational person. You become a high value person. And so anything in your life that's not a vibrational match, it's going to fall away. And it might not feel good at first. This has happened to me over and over again because of the work that I'm called to do. I experience things oftentimes before other people do so that I can teach it to others before they get there. You got to know these things about yourself to actually change your life. And I know that y'all have aspirations and achievements and dreams and goals, but you have to be intentional about what comes in here. You must be intentional about what you allow to circulate up here. This is meant to be your throne room, right? Mine has been a battlefield. But we're being triggered to learn how to create peace on the battlefield. It starts inside. And I want you to pay attention to how you feel now versus the way you felt before you came into this video. Tune into your own body. What do? You feel grounded? Do you feel less noise? Do you feel less worried? What are you feeling right now? See, I help co-create energy with you so that you can experience something else, because dimensions are experienced through emotions. Okay? So we want to learn how to magnetize to us so that we're not chasing out of fear. We want to learn how to be picky about what comes in here so that our mind can be more clear and we can live in less fear. And I'm not trying to rhyme, but it's just one of the gifts that I have here. I think I might keep going with that. And so what happens is you're accessing frequencies. You're drawing it into you. You're drawing it into you. And I couldn't understand the way that this showed up in day-to-day life before this. And I started this new channel because this is a new level in which I will be assisting people who are ready to untain the soul, is to ultimately become everything that you are supposed to be. But we have been fed so many things that disempowered us. Look at the food system right now. It's a reflection of what spiritually we have been having cycle back to us. If your descendants passed trauma down to you and you had negative experience, this is the spiritual side of abuse. After this, I'm really going to get off here, and the rest of this channel message, I will repost this on Patreon. Because this conversation can go deeper, a lot deeper. Patreon is where the souls who like really tapped in, you get access to everything that I have ever done. So, and it's like, just check it out. I put the links in the description. But when you start resonating with your life in this space and you know how to get in this space, that's when you learn how to drive your ship, your mothership, your Merkaba, right? This is the mandala that your energy creates when you move throughout the planet. So there can be a beautiful synastry of spirit and matter working together. And this is when you learn how to heal yourself. A lot of us get disappointed in this journey because we're not feeling healed. And so it's like, what am I even doing this for? Nothing has changed. I know the feeling. It happens. It's part of the journey. So if this is resonating with y'all, like, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. This is the new channel. This is where I will be. All right. And so much more than I can say. Yeah, you got to get on Patreon. It's so much power there. But power is being hid right now. It's not being offered to anybody until they're ready. You know? So that's the beauty of learning to be in this energetic resonance. Turn pain into purpose. I'm going to put in the description. It should already be there, but of what's in there. And you can also go to the website and read about what's in there. This course took my blood, sweat, and tears to create. Truly did. Because the challenge was, how do I show people how powerful they are, how powerful their pain is, how important it is, and how to take it and use it as a catalyst instead of feeling disempowered by it. It's such a challenge. To learn how to do it with yourself is one thing, but to teach it to people. And I have had some of the most profound spiritual experiences within the astral realm to create this course. This course was not created just from reading a book or going to college or getting a degree. This was me accessing the Akashic records that holds the database of so much information that has been hidden from us or has been lost, and we're regaining access to that. We're actually rewriting our Akashic record. So all of the things that infiltrated our minds, the entities, the energies, the thought forms, indoctrination, what we were taught, the information, the things that we were eating, the many different assaults on our mind, the many ways that the family has been divided, the many ways that men have been turned against women, the many ways that generations have these huge gaps and we can't really communicate with each other anymore. All of this division, it creates pain, and it's not something we're going to be able to just step out of right now. But the sooner we start, the sooner we live a life of purpose. The new earth is created by people who start accessing a life lived with purpose, a life lived from passion, a life lived. It is truly livable. It is truly doable. You can really live with people who are low vibrational, are not ready to ascend beyond it, and be high frequency, living in love, not 24/7. This is a process. But you will be able to shift into that. You will be able to conjure the things into your life that you desire because you're making the adjustments within yourself. You're not attached and so tethered to what's happening with everybody else. If people are getting triggered around you, it is a blessing to you so that you can get untethered and unattached. Now, how to do that? There's a spiritual process that I use to get unattached, working with the dark feminine energy, dark goddess energy. This is the energy that rules over the subconscious mind. The subconscious is dark. It is a feminine space. It is a space of potential. When you know how to work with the darker energies, these shadow aspects of yourself and others, you are less manipulated by them. Such a peaceful place to live in. And so what you can do, you grab that course and work through that course. I created it where you would need no more than 30 minutes a day to feel, experience, and have your own spiritual activations. The more time you spend with it, the better. The sooner, the better. But I have taken everything that you all have shared with me in readings. If you are new to me and you have never had a one-on-one with me, like, read the reviews and see what that's like, but I really was taking everything to heart. And I use the codependent part of me that wants to fix people, wants to save people and help people. I use it to serve my purpose. Y'all, are you getting this? This is what the soul does. So I took the spiritual information that I was downloading. I took the pain that you all have experienced and those who I've done readings for. I took my own pain and I learned how to work with those frequencies to create a system that's practical, And I went through so much turmoil in creating this. When you start, I know people say, no, you shouldn't go through turmoil and no suffering. It's just peace and bliss. And no, it's not. You're here to learn how to work with dense energy and turn it into something else. So during this time, I was going through so much turmoil in my relationship, in my relationship with my body. Like, things were just breaking down, like, at a rate. It was blowing my mind. I'm like, I'm doing the work. Why is this happening? I'm doing the work. wasn't embodying my soul. My soul was existing outside of me. If you live in your mind, this is so good. I can't even stop this one. I got to give this to y'all. If you live in your mind, you are disconnected from your temple, from your body, from your house, which means that you are unaware how energies are exchanging with you, and things may be coming into you that really wants to destroy you, and you're letting it come in, and you're being bombarded, and you can't figure out why you get depressed. You can't figure out why you get anxious. You can't figure out why you lose hope. You can't figure out why you're so critical of yourself. You can't figure out why you can't let yourself off sometimes. Why can't you just cry sometimes? Why can't you just be angry sometimes? Why can't you be the one finally popping off? To allow somebody else to have to forgive you. See, the ego don't want to do that. But a person who never ever gets to experience forgiveness from somebody else is going to be afraid to be vulnerable. They're going to be afraid of intimacy. They're going to be afraid because my mistakes lead to me being abandoned. I cannot let people see my mistakes. So we try to be perfect. We try to act perfect. We try to do things that make us look perfect. I was so stuck in this trap. And I started talking about the dark feminine. And then I started to embody the dark goddesses. And they started to speak to me in such a strong way. I couldn't even ignore it. And I was like, but I think people are going to think that this is evil. And they said, well, what people think should not be the determining factor for how you live your purpose. Because if what you were teaching was evil, a lot of people who are energetically sensitive, they wouldn't connect with you. There is a safety that the Dark Mother provides that is unlike nothing else. It is in that space where you know that you're safe. See, I don't reparent my inner child with just myself. I reparent my inner child with the Dark Mother, with the dark feminine archetypes that I learned from. So my inner child feels safe. And my spiritual self feels safe. So now I can be authentic. Now I can actually let myself mess up sometimes and not worry about how people are going to respond to it and let them deal with that. And I just focus on what I need to do for me to feel better. I don't have to make sure people aren't upset with me all the time. I can focus on, yep, I did it. I might have said something that was not the kindest thing that I could have said. I was upset. It is what it is. It happened. I'm going to work through it with myself, and then I will go to them and let them know I apologize. And they may forgive you. And now you just had a moment where you created a deeper connection because your soul is connected to you. But when you are not connected to your soul, you will live in your mind. And the mind is the battlefield. So the inner child inside of you don't feel safe because you're allowing the mind, the inner child is watching the TV of the perception of your mind. And the inner child is afraid because you are allowing yourself to stand on the battlefield and not have the tools. You are ignoring the messages that have come to you because you can't really connect. You can't decipher. You can't feel because so much other stuff is happening. The spiritual implications of living in survival mode is detrimental to us. There are some dark goddesses that I work with whose physical image depiction scared the hell out of me. But my inner child was not afraid, and I was confused. My inner child said the terrible stories that you tell yourself, the things that people project onto you that you allow to penetrate you is scarier to me than anything. A child is not judgmental. A baby is not judgmental. So this is why a baby could not see danger in a wild tiger. And the wild tiger not do anything to hurt the baby. Like we can't even wrap our mind around that. This is new earth type stuff, behavior. It is the inner child in us that can see something that we would perceive as ugly, but the inner child doesn't see the ugly in it. It's how babies are. Babies can love anybody no matter what their face look like. Can you do that? We all have preferences and things that we like and don't like, and what we consider beautiful and what we don't. But babies aren't like that. That purity, that neutrality, not being judgmental, not being critical. That energy is necessary to reparent yourself. In the inner child healing course, I time travel you back through subconscious linguistic symbolism in the form of a meditation to connect with this part of yourself. You have to connect. And it is through the dark feminine archetypes that I learned how to connect. And I also learned how to not only create inner child energy of safety, where my inner child feels safe and protected. Because let me tell you, dark feminine energies are very protective. And when you build a relationship with what we call deities, these are consciousness. This is consciousness that's made available to us to tap into for our own lives. It's nothing evil about that, but people who are focused on what's evil is because it's so much inside of them that hasn't been addressed. And so it's really calling them to find the darkness within, to find the pain within, to find the thought forms within created from that trauma that we could call a demon, right? But we're meant to heal these things. You can't do that if you're afraid of facing it. And it's okay to be afraid. Because as long as you feel like it's not okay to feel how you feel, you won't be able to shift into a newer version of yourself because you haven't accepted yourself yet. So, yeah, there are entity attachments, and yes, there's a such thing as archons, these energetic, elemental energies that impact the way that we think. They are major manipulators that keeps us recycling trauma so that we create negative frequencies for them to feed off of. And when people have a lot of them attached to them, they become energetically vampiric. They need your attention. They need your energy. All of us, this happens to us. If you've ever been clingy, you were in an energy, vampiric energy. And it's no judgment. It just is what it is. This is what neutrality feels like. Like, it's not necessary to judge everything. Just see things as what they are. It is what it is. And from that space, you can work with that energy and turn it into something else. And so when we're needing attention, we're needing love, we're feeling abandoned, we don't feel like we can really give it to ourselves, we need to be in a relationship, that constant need, that's the inner child letting you know, like, I got some needs. And so if you work with dark feminine energy, you're connecting with the spiritual energy that's going to speed that process up. Okay, so this is the end of this channel message. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. I've been on the fence on whether or not I'm going to do lives anymore in this format, but it was something so strong I couldn't ignore it today. So I want to thank you all. I'm going to put the link to the course in the description. And if I have, depending on how things work out, I will be leading a fire ceremony and accepting petitions to be the medium in which I channel the energy to the spirit realm on the behalf of those that participate in the course. And you will be added to a private group We'll be able to share like-minded things with one another and have supportive community. It's so important. You really need healthy, safe people to interact with to learn how to be in that frequency more often. And so that's what this provides. And yes, my focus right now is women. Men will not be added to the private group, but men can buy the course. But this course was created um, using divine feminine energy as the foundation and using divine masculine energy for the structure. So it's a very balanced course to get. And I'm combining spirituality and personal development together. This compartmentalization has to stop. We got to integrate things and bring things together so that we can actually create what we're meant to create. You need both energies. You need the sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine. So yes, that link is going to be there. The link to Patreon should not be hard to find, but join Patreon. I feel like I'm probably going to end up doing something for them as well. So number one, fire ceremony is going to be done for a small group of people that grab the course. I will take petitions. All of this can be done through our app, which is on Spaces. So download Spaces, and then you can interact with us like our own social media, basically, is what it is. Without all those other energies being there, it's just you and the like minded souls. So, yes, but Patreon is where the vault that contains all of the past lectures, a lot of information that I couldn't even mention it here. It's so much that you can learn there. And it's over almost 400 posts now. So it's a lot of information that you can learn. So yes, so I'm going to make sure that link is there. So I want to thank y'all so much. Shout out to every one of you who joined me. And yes, I'm expecting for great things to be happening for y'all just by connecting. But for those of you who get the course, like, this is the time. Okay, this is the time, because the underworld energy is permeating and getting stronger, and you want to have the tools and that you need to navigate it. There's no way around this to stop this from happening. This is what we're here for. But when you got the tools, like, you can start to enjoy life and nothing has changed. Like, it's really possible to enjoy your life even though nothing has changed, and to enjoy your relationships even though there are things that are happening that you feel like are toxic or not good for you. So I gave so many gems in this, but don't forget to like, share this video with somebody, and subscribe, and comment below. I want to hear, like, what was the experience like for y'all. Would y'all like to do this more? I'm open to curating the way that I am building this new channel based on what my audience needs. All right. Peace.